Okay, let's share the screen. Let's copy draw board. All right, so I'm going over 10.1, 10.3 today because I covered, I did cover 10.4, 10.5 in the last class review that is already posted. But I can go over some more problems, you know, just to give you. Okay, this will be a. Okay, everybody has their note card with them. So this is Math 210 review for exam 1. Math 210 exam 1 review. And this your video will focus on the first two sections, 10.1 and 10.3, which is all about limits. Limits. You can Google this. I mean, this is on the, if you go to my Canvas page, you will find this with this document, what I'm talking about. Okay, so number 1 is calculate the limits of the following functions. Two things to remember here, or maybe not. Let's just talk about important things will be on this side of the board, okay? What is anything raised to the power 0? Good job. And you are allowed a calculator for this exam, so that should be good. What is anything over 0? Undefined, right? Good. All right, so let's just calculate. This is question number 1, part C. So no tough math is required here. You just have to plug in the point in the function and simplify. For example, part C is limit x approaching to 5, 3 times e to the power x negative 5. How do you calculate this? There is no fraction. This is how you think. You don't have to write this in the exam, but this is just your thought process. Thought process. No fraction means no simplification required. No fraction means no simplification. Simplification, or in other words, canceling stuff. Simplification or canceling things, canceling required, okay? So you go ahead and just plug in the numbers, and what is the answer? So this will be limit x approaching to 5, 3 e to the power x minus 5. Yeah, exactly. You just plug in 5, and what do you get? Because anything to the power 0 is, and 3 times 1 is just, right? Easy peasy. We're just plugging in the numbers, and that's it. Now, this was not a bad question. Any questions? Good. Let's do number E. Sometimes they might give you a variable in your function. We do not panic. We still plug in the value. Unless the denominator is 0, we do not simplify. Just plug in the limits. So I have limit x approaching to negative 1. This is number E of the same question. Ax cube negative 3x square plus 3 4x cube plus 1. So this is how you check if I can plug in the number or not. Thought process. Again, you do not have to write it. It's just for you to understand. If the denominator is non-zero after you plug in the -1, no need to simplify. If the denominator is non-zero after you plug in 1 or whatever the number is, you plug in the x value, okay? No need to simplify. The top can be 0. No need to simplify. This clear? And no need to write this also. Okay. So just do a quick math in your brain. If I plug in -1, I cube it, it will be 4 times -1, which is -4. So the bottom is not 0, right? So I'm good here. I'll just plug in the number. So what is the limit? Just plug in -1. What do you get? In place of x. Everybody should be good with this. Simplify, what do you get? -a plus or negative over -3. Can you simplify more? You can just cancel the negatives, right? Okay, so this was question number 1. Question number 2 is limits at infinity. Now that's the a little complicated part. Okay, everybody good with this? All questions and all parts in question number 1 follow the same technique. If the bottom is not 0, you are good. Just plug it in. Okay. If the bottom is 0, then we simplify. When I get to a question like that, we'll discuss. Okay, let's move on to question number 2, which is the limits, the infinite. Question number 2 is limits at infinity. There were 3 rules. They are in my lecture notes. Whenever we talk about rational functions, we have 3 rules. Either the limit is 0, the limit is does not exist, or the limit is you just take the coefficient of the highest power for the top and the coefficient of the highest power for the bottom. Anybody remembers the 3 rules? Only one person. All of you should have done the homework. Right? Okay, because not many of you remember. Let's just recall this. Rule number 1, you will always be asked about limits at infinity for rational functions, which means you'll have a fraction. Rational functions. So you will have a fraction. What do we notice for fractions? We will check the degree of the numerator and degree of the denominator. Basically, you look for the highest power, okay? Number 1, if your degree or the highest power, let's just say that here. If highest power of your variable in numerator, okay, if the highest power in numerator is strictly less than highest power in denominator, then what happens? You do not have to show your work in exam. Then, no matter what question it is, limit x approaching to plus minus infinity of that function will be 0. Okay, if it is less. Second question, if you can take a picture of this, you don't have to write this all down. I'll be posting these notes anyways. If highest power in numerator is strictly more than highest power in denominator, then no matter what is the question, the limit will be d and e. Good. The third part is when they are equal. What happens then? If the highest power numerator equals, okay, equals the highest power in denominator, then the limit x approaching to plus minus infinity will be the coefficient of highest power in numerator, coefficient of highest power, just the coefficient, no x, okay, the number, divided by coefficient of highest power in the denominator. Now, you will not need to show any work if you get a question like this in exam. These were the 3 rules that I talked about. Let's do a few examples here. I would have liked numbers. Okay. Number 5th. Let's do this example. Yes. Yeah, D and E are positive or negative infinity depending on the sign. If you write this, it's correct. Or just say infinity. Or no, you can say undefined. Yes, undefined will be the same as a negative or positive infinity. But yeah, you know, right? You will see if the largest power, if it's squared, then it's positive infinity. But if it's a negative, if it's x to the power cube, and the limit is approaching to negative infinity, then it's negative infinity. But to avoid that confusion, just say undefined. Okay? In exam, it's fine. Now, I want to do an example here. Any other question? Good question. Good. Okay, number 5th. This is number 5th from your exam review. So again, I have calculated the limit. Limit is approaching to infinity. 5 negative 8x square divided by 7 minus 9x minus 4x square. Which rule can you apply? How many go with, okay, let me just zoom out and tell me which of the following cases work. Evan, look at the power, the highest power in numerator, look at the highest power in denominator. Which one is greater? They are the same, right? So which rule? Rule 3. Rule 3 means you just take the coefficient of top. Be careful with the negatives. And take the coefficient of the bottom. And what do you get? Good? That's it? Okay. Why are you look so... I know it is easy, but that's what you're supposed to do. Yes. No. Yes. Just say that the highest power of numerator equals the highest power of denominator. Hence, limit equals that. That's it. Okay. Any questions? Let's do one more. But this only works for infinity, okay? It doesn't work for other things. The rules. Okay. This is number 2, part. This is question number 2, part H. So I have limit x approaching to infinity, ax cube plus 9 divided by bx6 negative 10x. Now you don't worry about a and b here. You just look at the rules. The highest power in numerator is less than highest power in denominator. What will happen here? It's 0, right? Makes sense? Evan? Yes. Question? Okay, focus on the board. Ask me the question. Okay, ask me any questions, okay? I will be the best person in this room to answer your doubts. Not bragging here. Yes, Nick. What is it? Number 4. Ah, great question. I was gonna get there after a few more problems. But I have a special request. You wanna solve number 4? You have to recall a few things. X approaching to positive infinity. Now see, here they specify. So that's important. So 2e to the power negative x. Now I have to recall something here. Zoe, hold it. This is important question. Okay? Recall. To solve this problem, you have to know two things. What is anything or any number over infinity? How many go with 0? You are right. Good job. What is e to the power infinity? No, it's infinity. Anything raised to the power positive infinity is infinity, okay? What is e to the power negative infinity? 1 over e infinity, right? This makes sense. I can make the power positive by moving it down. And what is e to the power infinity? This is something that, this is nothing new knowledge. It's just something I wanted to know. Like, just like how you remember 2 times 2 is 4, just remember this also. Okay? Now talk about this question. So if I plug in infinity, what do I get? Right? Because there's a negative here. I plug in positive infinity, I get negative infinity. And what does that mean? And what is anything over infinity? Good? Make sense to you? Okay. Any other demands? Okay, I think you're good. I want to talk about number 10, because that's slightly different from what you have been seeing. Number 10 talks about two functions. They give you the popularity of Twitter and LinkedIn given by two functions. Everybody has access to this. Okay, questions? Number 10. So you are given two functions, w of t equals 0.33 t square negative 2t plus 8.7, and you're given another function L of t 0.04 t square negative 0.26 t plus 0.67, and you're asked two parts. Expect a question like this on exam. Limit t approaching to infinity of w. Now, because there is no fraction, you can always say divided by 1, and because the bottom is a constant, it has less degree, that would just be infinity. Right? Because this is just saying that I have 0.33 t square negative 2t plus 8.7 divided by 1, right? There is no bottom. 1 means I can say 1 times t to the power 0. Numerator has higher power. This is infinity. Makes sense? If you do not have a fraction, you can always make a fraction by putting a 1 in the bottom. That means that your variable has power 0. Good. What about part B? There they ask you limit t approaching to infinity, w over L. W is this function, 0.33 t square. T square negative 0.26 t plus 0.67. What do you get? Are they same? Are the powers same? Question, yes, Zoe. To apply the rule, right? Because I'm finding a limit t approaching to infinity, but I don't have a fraction. Right. So how do I get a fraction? I just divide by 1. Right? But 1 means what? The power of top will be higher than the power of bottom. Right. So that's why limit is infinity. Oh. So I'm just explaining why limit is infinity for part A. Yes. No. No. You just put infinity. If it's a polynomial and it's approaching to infinity, it is infinity, the answer. Just say undefined. D&E is not technically correct. I will understand what you're trying to say, but I should give you the correct information. Yeah. Good? Question, Rob? Okay, everybody can do this. Frank? Okay, good. Now, what is the answer here then? Because they're the same power, limit is just. And what is that number? Remember, just the coefficients, not the t. Okay? Any questions with this? Now, the average rate of change and everything else I talked about. Oh no, I just want to talk about number 8 and 9. Number 8. Number 8 is you're given question, yes. Yes, what is this number? Yeah. Plug it in your calculator. This should be easy. Yes. Good, everybody? The only thing where I will not ask you to simplify is the long derivative problems, where you have to apply product rule, quotient rule, and blah, blah stuff, okay? These parts, I expect you to get me an answer here, okay? Now, number 8, look what they have given you in number 8. They want you to find limit t approaching to infinity, m of t, and m of t is a function which is given by this formula. It is in the question, right? 40 times 0.6 t2 to the power t. This makes sense? There is no fraction. You cannot simplify this. And if I plug in infinity, look what will happen. This is a number less than 1. There are 2 things that I want you to remember here. Maybe I should have fixed my top notes. Remember a to the power infinity, if a is less than 1, equals 0, okay? A to the power infinity is infinity if a is greater than or equal to 1. Okay, these are the 2 rules I want you to remember. You can check also. If you keep squaring this number, keep squaring 0.62 times 0.62 times 0.62, you'll keep going smaller and smaller and smaller. This answer is 0. Good? And you don't have to say this in the exam, but the highlighted part is just for you. Why it's 0. Good? Question. Everybody will remember this for the exam. Question. Circle is if anything is raised to the power infinity, it will be infinity if that anything is more than or equal to 1, but it will be 0 if a is less than 1. In this case, my a is less than 1. And hence, that raised to power infinity becomes 0. So whatever you multiply, it becomes 0, right? Question. Doesn't have to be. What if it's a whole number? A negative number. We will not give you questions like that, because that will be an oscillating series. That would not have a limit. This is not part of your curriculum. Good? Okay, let's do number 9. Number 9 is again, you have a e to the power something function. So I am calculating limit t approaching to infinity, and my function is 1500 3 plus 2 e to the power negative 0.1 times t. Now you don't even have to worry about it. What is e to the power negative infinity? 0. Just remember that, okay? Maybe just memorize this for the exam. E to the power negative infinity is 0. Okay? E to the power infinity is infinity. Now, so when I plug in infinity, what will I get? Not the whole thing 0. I'll get e to the power negative infinity, right? And that will become 0. So the answer is just that. Question. Oh, you were giving me the answer? Good job. Okay, this takes care of the limit part of your exam. I have already covered all the nooks and crooks of your... Oh yeah, I just want to cover one more question. Everybody good so far? Everybody can do this on the exam? Watch this video and the previous video 10 times if you have to. But make sure you understand every concept, every question on this practice exam, okay? This practice exam. Everybody knows which practice exam I'm talking about? Okay, don't give me a heart attack, okay? It's on the syllabus, it's on Canvas. Now, number 4. It's number 4 from 10.4, 10.5. This is sections 10.4, 10.5. I just want to talk about this graph for a minute. This is the graph of f. This is f of x, okay? This is the graph of f of x. Everybody can see this? All right. What does the increasing or decreasing of your function tells about the derivative? F increasing on which interval? Let's say this is infinity, this is 0, this is infinity, okay? F is increasing on what interval? Everybody knows what an increasing function looks like? Okay, who's gonna tell me the interval? Raise hand. Raise hand, you should know this. Might be an MCQ. Okay, not Morish. Judd, no. So the guy was leaving. Which interval? Yeah. Good job. Now you can go. Right? F is increasing on this interval. What does that tell me about the sign of derivative? If the function is increasing, means f prime is positive. Good job. Remember this, okay? If the function is decreasing, it's decreasing from negative infinity to 0, means f prime is negative on that interval. This clear? Okay, that's it. Do you want me to start 11.5? Oh yeah. In exam, I will not ask you to graph, but this should give you enough idea. F prime is negative on that interval, means F prime should be below the x-axis. And because F prime is positive, it should be above the x-axis. So it will just be an idea. So you'll have to pick the correct graph from a bunch of options. That's it, right? Below this axis means below x-axis means negative value. And above means positive. Okay, do you want to do a pop quiz? It's for practice. Yeah.
Like practice or like no group work is like group work.
It's
Group work, right?
if it's on the exam, yeah. Okay, how about I give you this question? No, this is practice for you. Plus how many can solve this question if it shows up on exam? Can you find the derivative of m? Which rule are you supposed to use? Product rule. Make sure you write out the question and you can remember the rule. Trust me, I've been grading for many years for 210. You will be shocked at the amount of mistakes you make. Yes. No note card on exam. For practice.
For practice.
Nothing is allowed on the exam. No cheat sheet, no note card, no phones, only calculator. No. You can have a calculator. Yes. Yeah, simplify this. Okay, this completes the review.